companies are set to get a rather large present this year. The tax that they pay government is set to be reduced from 35% to 21%.
One of the great Christmas gifts to middle-income people.
So much more. Well, I've been traveling so damn long.
There's definitely a gift for the most wealthy, people who pay the top tax rate, because that's been brought down by more than 2%. And analysis shows the lowest income bracket will benefit the least.
Hello humans, welcome back to the Slackline Quote of the Day broadcast. You are here with the boss.
The boss is coming! That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you
And we are chatting quotes again. It is Monday, February 26th, 2018. Coming at you from Vancouver. We are moving on to something new today. We talked a lot about like the gun control and the inspiring teenagers and stuff last week, and I was tempted to go with that again today, but I wanted to go to something different, and maybe we can go back to that again. There is a massive boycott happening in the U.S., an NRA boycott amongst a bunch of pretty high-level companies, which is really interesting, so maybe we'll take a look at that tomorrow. There was no full slack line this weekend. We had a scheduling conflict with our guest, but we are going to have her back next week, hopefully. Her name is Dr. Zoe Arthurson McCall. She is a doctor of psychology, JD candidate 2020 at Kent University in Illinois. JD stands for Juris Doctor, which is apparently the label for a law degree. So yeah, she's a really interesting person. She's from my hometown, Calgary. I knew her when we were in school, and she was doing her undergrad there. And now she is on her way to, I think, wanting to be a judge. And her big concern, I think, is working with people who are on death row who have been wrongfully convicted. Maybe not just death row, but wrongfully convicted people for sure is her focus. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And yes, she should be on the big slack line with JWoww and myself. Hopefully next week. She's a super interesting person. But today we are going back a little while to the U.S. tax code. Very, very exciting topic. Mr. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, said in his letter to investors that the tax cut accounted for a lot of their income. And so the quote that we have today comes out of that letter. And it is brought to us today by World Reverser. Have you pinpointed a spot in history where it all went wrong? Now try a new World Reverser to take us all back to that time and make a new choice. That'll take us back to any sort of spot in human history where we started veering in the wrong direction, whether that was what type of energy we wanted to use, mass prejudice and killings and all types of violence, how our banking system was working. Any of those things would be great. We could go back and try to fix them. But yeah, anyways, so the quote today, thank you, World Reverser. The quote is from that man, Warren Buffett. A large portion of our gain did not come from anything we accomplished at Berkshire. $29 billion was delivered to us in December when Congress rewrote the U.S. tax code. That is Warren Buffett, again, in a letter to his investors regarding their record quarterly and annual earnings that were released on Saturday. Yeah, I mean, here we are again talking about the idea, the old idea of trickle-down economics that's been proven, in my opinion, to not work. And you know, most people that you would talk to seem to agree that the people at the top shouldn't be getting the brunt of these types of tax cuts, but you know, it just doesn't matter because they're the ones that are in control of everything. You know, the people that are pushing for these types of legislations are not normal citizens. They're high level, you know, corporate CEOs and stuff like that have a lot of influence over people because they have a lot of money on their hands, and it's really easy to throw large sums of money at people, and people who don't have large sums of money, or at least not as large as they could be with that other large sum of money, are very susceptible to large sums of money. I mean, even Warren Buffett, I mean, he says this, but like, so what's, I mean, is he saying that it's a bad thing? I don't know. I'm just reading, I'm reading this from an article, not from the full internal report that they sent around. So yeah, he states that, like, so of their profit for the year, 36 billion came from Berkshire's operations, and 29 billion, like said in the quote, was from tax breaks from the US. So I mean, these are taxes that, I mean, they don't really go away. The government still needs to be funded. In fact, this raised the deficit, so it raised the cost of the government. So how can you raise the cost of the government and lower the taxes on the richest citizens in the country? Well, it's not hard to see where the brunt of the tax burden ends up falling, which is on everybody else. And this is done in the vague promise that these people that have lobbied for this situation to pad their bank accounts more will, through the grace of the goodness of their heart and the growth of their business, will reinvest it all into, you know, higher wages for the people at the bottom. Yeah, right. You know, better working environments for their employees. Good luck with that. You know, and that's basic stuff. You know, when I think better work environment, like for myself, you know, you're talking like cushy things, like a better chair, or like maybe some maybe like an extra break or things like that, you know. And that, but like the real savings are made on the people that are working in environments that are you know, life threatening, and that's it. There's nothing else to say about it but life threatening. Well, so again, like, so how do you cut how do you fund the government while cutting these taxes? Well, what they've done is cut taxes in the present and the near future for everybody, and so everybody's feeling this tax reform right now and getting a few $100s back or whatever off their checks every month and feeling happy about it. But all of those breaks end in 2025, and then it will be just and they're minor anyways when you compare like a 15% corporate tax cut, like that 14%, that's insane. I think a lot of the issue comes with the perspective of what middle income is. You know, I keep hearing Trump and and all the Republican members talking about how this is a great tax bill for the middle income, the middle class. Everybody that's in the middle will love it. And the problem is that everybody considers themselves in the middle. Even Donald Trump, like, that's the thing. Like, he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, well, I have $1 billion, but my friend has $4 billion. So if I'm not above him and I'm not the lowest person, then I must be the middle. So I can get tax breaks. I'm the middle class, right?" And that's not that's not how it should work. I mean, the vast majority of people live week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and trying to just kind of get by, and because there's a few people in a country or on the planet that are making like incredible amounts of money, when you look at things like middle income or average income even, it doesn't tell the story because these factors are skewing it. Even something like, well, the annual income, average annual income in Canada is like $35,000. Like, people go like, well, it's not terrible. But then you consider, well, there's a few people in this country that have billions of dollars in the bank. You know, you don't think that's pulling up on that, like, very intensely? It is. Meanwhile, you have people that have, tens of dollars in the bank, negatives dollars in the bank, lots of more people that are like that. And those people, now they're getting the brunt of it again. And, it's, I don't know when it will, when people will start to maybe revolt actually about it. It seems like all of these types of things are heating up now, and people are very, the transparency is impossible to stop because, there's leaks everywhere. The information moves so fast, and there's like a lot of people that are rebelling against the government that are within government because they're people that, don't believe in what the GOP and the Trump administration are trying to do. So I really have to wonder when people will start or stop, accepting this lie, basically. We'll stop accepting this trickle down economics as truth. No one is dispersing what they could otherwise keep. Like, even Buffett, he kind of shrugs and he says these things every once in a while that sound very progressive, and he talked about his secretary who had to pay more tax than him, which was like ridiculous, and he says it's ridiculous, and he was a Clinton supporter, and he doesn't support this tax bill, like, personally, but then he definitely employs people that lobby for this type of stuff to happen. I mean, that's like he's the CEO of a massive like conglomerate. It's part of what he does. So how can he kind of come out and say that? He's not putting his money where his mouth is and changing anything. He's happily taken that $29 extra billion. Where's his funds that the all of these like NRAs and financial lobbyists and all these types of things seem to have pushing the other direction? How come he's not using it to push the other way? Well, I mean, he's making a lot of money. So yeah, I don't know. The trickle down thing really, really bothers me as a quote unquote economist myself. I say that like I have an economics degree. I talked to my friend about it, who I graduated with, about whether or not he considers himself an economist, and we were both like, no. And we're like, yeah, but like my friend's a geologist. He just went through, a bachelor's degree. My friends are engineers and stuff like that. Like, how come I'm not an economist? And I don't know. We consider people that have like doctorates in economics to be economists, but anyways, yeah, the trickle down thing really bothers me, because if you study it at all, you can really quickly see how it breaks down, and if you see it in real life, you can very easily again see how it breaks down, and so that's why it's frustrating why people don't seem to fight against it harder. But anyways, I'm just talking on the radio about it. It's not like I'm doing much. Maybe we'll cut her there for today. That is it for the quote of the day, Slackline. That quote again from Warren Buffett in his annual report to his investors at Berkshire Hathaway. A large portion of our gain did not come from anything we accomplished at Berkshire. $29 billion was delivered to us in December when Congress rewrote the U.S. tax code. That is, again, Warren Buffett, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, that quote again is brought to us by World Reverser. Have you pinpointed a spot in history where it all went wrong? Now try a new World Reverser. Take us all back to that time and place and make a different choice. That is it for the Slackline quote of the day. Thanks again to Crooked Spies for offering up their tunes for us. Make sure you're following the Slackline on Instagram at the.slack.line, on Twitter at slackline_radio, and on iTunes and YouTube at the Slackline Podcast. You have been listening to The Boss.
The boss is coming! That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
That's it for today. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope you enjoy your work day and your week ahead. See you tomorrow. Bye.